Okay, well, let's move on. The next one is a movie I've seen with you. It's nothing available on YouTube, of course, to rewatch it really, except for a trailer, I think. And I think you've probably seen it at least a couple, if not a few times. I only saw it the once. It's Barbara Rubin and the Exploding New
Right.
York Underground. And the
Yep.
director I'll just mention is Chuck Smith. Came out in 2018. And well, make sure we'll mention your song, but I'll leave that up to you. So yeah, great movie. I think it's the first documentary we've discussed here so far, and there are several documentaries on your list. So
It is, yeah. I know. I was thinking there might be about 5.
well, okay, I'd have
Yeah.
to do a count. There's
Okay.
some
Anyway. I was going to say that. What's that?
What is the definition of several? So,
I know, several. You're right. Why would I even say that? Today I was getting on people like on ILX. If you don't say something in exactly the right way, someone will do what I just did to you. I think it's only about 5, and then make a big issue out of it. I had a terrible day on ILX. We'll talk about that some other time.
okay.
I was going to say the Barbara Rubin. Now I did have some back and forth with the director because it is hard to see. I think you and I saw it. We saw it when it played in the documentary film festival. Yeah. I think was Tim there with us too?
Yeah, and that would have been, I think, when it came out, because I'm
sure so that goes back.
I saw it. So
yeah, that goes back a year ago almost to right now. And I saw it once more later in the theater. It played one night only at I think it was the Royal, and I ran into Alan Zweig there. And in between though, I had to see it again. The song I chose is by the Myddle Class, and you're gonna even have to refresh my memory on the name of the song. What is it, Scott?
It's great, by the way. I've only listened to it.
It's a really good song.
I would have seen it in the movie, but I don't fully remember it in the movie. But it's called "I Happen to Love You."
Yeah.
And, the only thing I'll note about it from a song perspective is written by Goffin King.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did notice that. It is a great song. It's this garagey thing, a regional hit, and I had to see it again. So I managed to get in touch with the director because he had a Facebook page for the movie. I got to him through that, and he was very nice, very accommodating. He had it posted privately on Vimeo. So he gave me the link to watch the whole film again.
Oh, great.
It doesn't, yeah. I can't remember totally. I probably have to get you to, oh no, it's used when I think Barbara Rubin, isn't she making out jokingly with another actress? I do remember.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned in your write-up. Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at it right now. I can't find the line, but you do mention it. Let me see if I can find it right here. A highlight, "I Happen to Love You" by the Myddle Class, and it's Myddle. By the way, not on Spotify. A New Jersey garage band heard over a clip of Rubin and Naomi Levine making out passionately for Warhol's series of Kiss films.
Yeah, because there was this sort of, if you remember, I don't know how much you remember the film, there was kind of an ambiguity about Barbara Rubin's sexuality. I mean, she seemed to be completely in love with Allen Ginsberg. She wasn't going to get anywhere there, but then there was also indications that, maybe she was gay herself or I don't know, bisexual. And she's joking around in this scene, but I mean, it's hard to say, is she joking around? Who knows? So it just used really well. Naomi Klein was not Naomi Klein. What was her? Naomi Wise?
Right.
Yeah, she was an actress in a couple of Warhol films. I can't remember which one. She was very funny in one of them that I saw at the Lightbox. And yeah, just a great scene. There was a lot of good music in that film.
Well, I was going to say maybe 2 other things to quickly just go over is maybe first, in the off chance that someone is actually watching these who doesn't even know anything about who Barbara Rubin is and why there's a documentary. Give a brief summation of that, but also, you talk like it's one of those songs or one of those movies, and I think this is true of quite a few things on your list, several, let's say, where and I think you even used the phrase a couple times. It's like wall to wall songs, and I do remember there was a lot of
It was a lot.
Your write-up brought it back to me, and I even forgot some stuff. The one I'd like you to mention at least a little bit, because I think we actually discussed it at the time after the movie, was the John Coltrane's Equinox, which was
which I didn't. I had to get the title of that. I knew it was Coltrane, but I wasn't sure which piece it was. But there was another jazz thing I liked even more, and I was getting them all confused. And that was the first contact I had with that director. Even before I approached him about getting hold of the film, I actually, on the same way through Facebook, I wanted to know what song was what, and he pointed out that the jazz song I really liked, even more than the Coltrane as used in the film, was this, and I'm blanking out now on who it is, but it wasn't done until
I've got it in front of me. It's Freddie Hubbard.
Freddie Hubbard. But it wasn't done until the early 70s, even though it sounds very much like it came from that early 60s period.
Okay.
So there were those two jazz things. There was, and I'll talk about Barbara Rubin in a second. There was also a Jefferson Airplane song, I think Frederick, that was used really well during the commune part of her life, and Melanie's Lay Down, which is a great song.
Lots of Velvets.
A lot of Velvet Underground, a couple of, I think, lesser known but great Velvet Underground songs, like I think Lady Godiva's Operation.
Well, actually, it's funny since you mentioned that one, because that was a song I'd never really been a fan of before. I mean, I just had not listened to it that much for some reason. There's always certain songs over albums, even I know really well, that I just for some reason passed me by for some reason. And White Light, White Heat is probably the Velvet's album I know the least. So I just never really paid much attention to it. But I remember coming out of the movie, like that was just, I was like, wow, that, and I could tell what it was because you could hear what the lyrics were enough to know.
Yeah.
I was like, my God, I've got to go home and listen to that song again. I didn't realize it was so great. So yeah, that was a memorable.
Oh, it's got that just incredible drone to it.
Mm-hmm.
So Barbara Rubin, she was this person who, you know, she's, she had such an effect, and yet she's basically been lost to history. I mean, the things that she did in a very concentrated period of time. She made an underground film that was hugely important, Christmas on Earth. I still haven't actually watched it. I catch hell from somebody that loves all those films, but some of those films are better talked about than actually watched. But it was hugely important. It was very, very risque and scandalous.
And where did it come? Where did it come in relation to the was it Jack Smith Flaming?
I think it might have come out either just before or just after Flaming Creatures, and I have seen Flaming Creatures. Yeah, I think it was probably the same year, 63. I'm not sure which came first. So she made that film. Then she hooks up with Jonas Mekas, and she becomes very integral to all the New York Underground filmmaking that goes on. But she also is the person who she introduces, if that's the right word, she brings together Warhol and Dylan. It was through her they came together. And she also brings together Warhol and the Velvet Underground. And she's on the back cover of Dylan's Bringing It All Back Home. She's the woman who's cutting his hair. And, you know, she just, she reminded me of someone else who just linked up so many people. I guess maybe I was thinking of Neil Cassidy or somebody, Ken Kesey, or someone else who's just, you know, if you did one of those Pete Frame band pictures, there'd be all these arms coming out from her, and they would lead everywhere, and just take in so much of the mid-60s. And she had sort of an unhappy life, you know, sad life. She,
it ended fairly positively, didn't it?
In a way, yes and no. I mean, she turned her back on that world, and she became a what's the word for someone who's very Jewish, very fundamental, Orthodox. She became an Orthodox Jew. She married. She moved to Israel eventually, but she died very young.
Right.
You know, it was happy. It was a happy yes and no.
Dying, honestly, so yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think, and then Dylan turned up at her wedding in 1970. That was kind of neat.
Okay.
But she's just such a great story, and it was a very good film. I thought he did her justice.
Yeah, I liked it. And I'll just quote your one line from it, just in sort of following on what you just mentioned. So, start with a 6 degrees thread worthy of Gertrude Stein. Rubin introduced Dylan to Warhol in '65, and a year later she hooked Warhol up with the Velvet Underground. That's enough chemical combustion right there for several lifetimes. And it's true. I mean, you watch her story and it's like, wow, like talk about being just in the center of everything. That was like so amazing at the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the mere act of bringing Warhol together with the Velvet Underground that changed. Just think about
Yeah.
the effect of that alone on pop music history.
All my pride has been confiscated, overestimated my ability to hold out. I can't eat, I can't sleep, I can't think of anything but you, babe.